for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Game 3 of the 4-game series with the Giants. Things going the Giants' way. They've won the first 2. They've beaten the Dodgers 6 out of 8. They've won 7 of the last 8 games played here at Dodger Stadium, and they are 2 games in front of Colorado, 4.5 games in front of the Dodgers. The pitching today for the Giants, it will be Matt Cain. Cain has struggled trying to make a sandwich in the clubhouse, dropped a knife, tried to catch it, caught it by the blade, lacerated a finger, and was on the DL for 15 days. He is 0-3 in his last 4 starts against the Dodgers, and he is 5-11 lifetime against them. On the mound for the Dodgers, Zach Greinke, a great record of 5-1, and most impressively of all, the fact that he has had 19 consecutive starts going back to last year where he's allowed 2 runs or less. To find another figure like that, you'd have to go back to 1914. Tomorrow, the final game of the 4-game series, Tim Hudson for the Giants, Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. Right now, pull up a chair, take it easy, relax, enjoy the ball game, and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Dodger Stadium as fans make their way in on a beautiful Saturday afternoon for Game 3 between the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Welcome inside Dodger Stadium, everybody. I'm Alana Rizzo. Let's talk about the lineup a little bit. Andre Ethier sitting again today for the second straight game. The left fielder not playing today. Don Mattingly saying really the only reason is because Carl Crawford is swinging a hot bat as of late. In fact, Carl Crawford with a .257 average, but he's sitting on a 6-game hitting streak in which he He is hitting .555. Don Mattingly going with the hot hand, also saying that Andre Ethier could use a couple of days off to fine-tune some things offensively. When you take a look at the third base position, Juan Uribe not in the starting lineup once again nursing that mild right hamstring issue. Sean Figgins will get the start at third base for the Dodgers. Juan Uribe is available off the bench in a pinch hit situation if absolutely necessary. Don Mattingly saying they want to make sure that he can run with full effort before they put him in a game. As far as this game is concerned here at Dodger Stadium on this Saturday afternoon, it's Matt Cain for the Giants and Zach Greinke on the bump for the Dodgers. Dodgers down 0-2 in this series so far. Let's get it turned around. Vin Scully on the call after this.
Welcome to Dodger Stadium in the third game of the four-game series between the Giants and the Dodgers. A lot of peanuts on the field. Maury Wills telling them inspiring stories, and now they turn them loose and they take the field along with the big club. And in a moment or two, we'll get the ball game underway. If you've been to Dodger Stadium, you know it's a tradition, not only up here in the booth, but also down on the field. We always begin with "It's time for Dodger baseball." And today, of course, this game is played before the old-timers game. That'll cover quite a few decades. And the old-timers were down at home plate before the game, a group photo. And then they were asked to say, "It's time for Dodger baseball." And we thought, it's a switch. What a way to start the day. So maybe here they are. Let's say they hadn't practiced it, but it was fun and a great moment to see them all here. They cover a lot of years, some great days in Dodger history, and they were down there singing, and later on they'll be playing. Meanwhile, we get to business here, and let's take a look at the visiting Giant lineup. For Bruce Bochy, things are really doing well. They've won 7 of the last 8 at Dodger Stadium. They've beaten the Dodgers 6 out of 8 times so far this year. Angel Pagan, who among other things had 9 putouts in center field last night, he leads off. Hunter Penn's in right, Buster Posey at first, and Michael Morse hits cleanup and left. Hector Sanchez, the catcher. Pablo Sandoval will be at third base. Brandon Crawford at short. Brandon Hicks at second base. Matt Cain on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Zach Greinke out of Orlando, Florida, lives in Apopka, Florida. a first-round pick by the Kansas City Royals back in 2002, and has that rather remarkable record, although he poo-poos it a bit. But the fact that he's had 19 consecutive starts where he's allowed 2 runs or less. Zach doesn't think much of it. As he said, it'd be a lot better if it was 19 straight wins or whatever, but all of us who follow the game closely also feel it's quite an accomplishment. First pitch now to Angel Pagan, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Pagan has had a lot of success against Greinke in the past, hitting .316 but batting .444 against the right-hander. Grounds one back at first, up with it as Gonzalez feeds Greinke coming over, and just like that, one away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. In the outfield, it's Crawford, Kemp, and Puig. The infield, Gonzalez and Gordon, Ramirez and Figgins, and Greinke will be handled by Drew Butera. So one away, and the batter now will be Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence, the constantly in motion right fielder, hitting .252, 2 home runs, 9 runs batted in. In a game that saw the Giants win 3-1, there was a 2-run home run by Brandon Crawford, but also Pence figured prominently in the 6th inning. He had a walk. He was going on a ground ball, so he was safe at second. He then stole third, and on a slow roller, he was able to score, and that was the 3rd run and just enough to beat the Dodgers. So Pence waiting, 1 out, 1st inning, 0-1 the count. Greinke ready, Zach back with a pitch, popped in the air, back at first, down the line, looks like trouble. It's going to drop, fielded by Gonzalez on a bounce, a throw in too late at second base, and Hunter Pence winds up with a pop fly double down the right field line. So it's the old story, when things are going well, everything seems to fall your way. When you are struggling, line drives are right at people. And when things are well, the pop flies fall in. So Pence gets himself a pop fly double. The old expression in baseball, it will look like a line drive in the box score. Talking about the Giants, interestingly enough, they have hit 44 home runs. But what is interesting, 30 of the 44 have been hit on the road. An attest indeed to AT&T being a pitcher's park. Although Madison Bumgarner might say Dodger Stadium is the pitcher's park. He's 7-2 here by winning last night. So here's Buster Posey, who's always a problem for the opposition and a very tough hitter, especially with men on base. .284 for the year. In his career, .327. So Hunter Pence, who runs well at second base, 1 away. Greinke hands it his side, set at the belt, looks back. Right-hander ready to Posey. He comes back with a strike, and the count 1-1. What a gorgeous afternoon here in the ballpark. 70 degrees on this Saturday afternoon before Mother's Day. Greinke, a long look in. Now the right-hander, another check of Pence. Remember, he stole third. Fly ball into right field. Here comes Puig. A diving try. Comes up with the ball. Fires to third. That gets away, but it's backed up by Greinke. And runners at first and third. So Hunter Pence got a pop fly double to right. Now Posey lifts a fly ball into right center. Puig had a long way to come, made the diving try, couldn't make the catch. It went off his glove, actually, so he might have caught it most times. He then alertly picked up the ball and fired to third, but it was not in time to get Pence. So the Giants, without doing much, have first and third with 1 out, and the batter will be Michael Morse. Zach Greinke's loss this year occurred early in what turned out to be a rained-out game. That was at Washington. He allowed 2 runs, and the game was shortened for 3 innings. Dodgers never came back, and he suffered the loss. The pitch to Morse on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Morse, the power man that the Giants wanted. He had 31 when he was with Washington. Big right-hand hitting left fielder who usually comes out in a low-scoring game late in the game for defensive purposes. Strike one pitch on the way with one out. Runners at the corners. Half swing on a big breaking slider, and the count 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes to Michael Morse. Morse struggling of late, 1 for his last 15. However, he has 8 home runs, 24 RBIs. No balls, 2 strikes to Michael. Greinke at the belt. Zach delivers. Check swing. They're going to call another strike, and down he goes. So Morse unable to hold up on sliders away, and that's a big second out. And the batter now will be Hector Sanchez.
Catcher number 29, Hector Sanchez.
Hector Sanchez might see a lot of work. First of all, he could catch and give Buster Posey some rest. Posey playing first. There will also be days where Hector Sanchez can play first base. So Sanchez checks in. Hector, a switch hitter, hitting just 194 as a left-handed batter, and hitting better than that, 357 hitting left-handed. He checks up on a pitch in the dirt, ball 1, 1-0. So if you just joined us, Pagan grounded out. Pence pop fly double inside the right field line. Posey a single off a diving Puig's glove, and then Morse strikes out. So first and third, 2 down, and Sanchez up there, 1 ball and no strikes. Greinke trying to get out of a little jam here in the first inning. Zach ready and deals, and it's swung on and missed, 1-1. Sanchez, even though he doesn't play much, I mean, you did have Brandon Belt at first and Posey behind the plate. He's 5th on the club. He has 15 runs batted in, despite the fact he's only had 55 plate appearances. So Sanchez, switch hitting catcher, waiting. Greinke looks at the runners. Back he comes. Swung on and missed. 1-2. So Zach Greinke in a spot of trouble. So far so good. Good late movement on his pitches. And it's a 1 ball 2 strike count. Zach deep in thought. Turns. Looks over at first base. Posey held on by Gonzalez. Hunter Pence down the line from third. 1-2. Greinke a long look in. Now he's ready. Butera sets the target. And the 1-2 pitch on the way, high and outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. So the deuce is very wild here. Appropriately, certainly in a Giant Dodger game. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 the count, and waiting on deck, Pablo Sandoval. Greinke very conscious of Posey. He keeps looking over at first. Posey a very conservative lead. 2-2 to Sanchez. Zach ready. Here he comes, and it's off the plate. Ball 3. So Greinke now has made 15 pitches here in the first inning. For Zach, of course, seeing the Dodgers struggle offensively, scoring 1 run last night and 1 the game before, he knows runs have become very, very precious. So every pitch here with runners in scoring position, especially now Pence coming down the line from third. 3-2 the count. They're not going to hold Posey. He goes, and the pitch is outside, ball 4. So Greinke now with the bases loaded and 2 out. Tough moment to Don Mattingly. However, he had an inspirational note last night. Remember when Brandon League was pitching, the Giants had the bases loaded and nobody out, and League got out of it. Pence hit into a double play and Posey flied out. Now he's facing Pablo Sandoval. Zach Greinke and Sandoval. Sandoval is 0 for 5 against him. Pablo, switch hitter, ambidextrous, For the Giants, it has to be encouraging. They're in first place comfortably, and Sandoval is only hitting .171. Batting left-handed, Greinke delivers in the dirt. Nice block by Butera. 1 ball and no strikes. Sandoval, who is a free swinger, last night he hit a ball over his head and fouled it off third base. It was a remarkable thing to see. He has 1 grand slam. He hit it against Florida. And Sandoval in and out of the box. A far better hitter, of course, than that 174 batting average would lead you to believe. So Sandoval waiting. Greinke delivers. This one finds the zone, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. It's one thing to be a bad ball swinger, but you had better be a bad ball hitter, and Sandoval has done just that, to say the least. MVP in the World Series, all kinds of glistening credentials. Sandoval has hit as high as .315 for the Giants, so don't let the 174 fool you. They say Sandoval leads the majors in swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. 43% of the time he'll go after a pitch that's not in the zone. 1-1 pitch on the way. Pablo pokes it foul. Off to the left, upstairs, club level. 1-2 to Pablo Sandoval. Sandoval, not only a World Series MVP, he hit for the cycle against Colorado a couple of years ago. In the World Series, he had 3 home runs, 2 in 1 game. So he commands tremendous respect, never mind the numbers on the scoreboard as far as whether he's hitting or not. So Pablo waiting, hitting behind him, Brandon Crawford. Greinke trying to get out of a jam with the bases loaded and 2 out, and the 1-2 pitch is taken in the dirt, blocked again by Butera. So for so many pitchers, you come out of the bullpen having warmed up, you might feel like you're ready to go, and you're not. And Greinke, as wild as he'll ever be here. He walked Sanchez. He's bounced several. He's been saved by Drew Butera, who's doing a great job blocking and digging pitches out of the dirt. No score, top of the first inning. Greinke laboring now, has made 20 pitches. Dodgers restless, hoping he'll get out of the jam. They can't afford to give the Giants very many runs. So Greinke on a 2-2 count. Pence at third. Posey at second. Sanchez at first. Fastball got him swinging. No runs, 2 hits, 3 left. Sandoval comes up empty, and at the end of half an inning, Giants nothing, Dodgers coming up. Walked a high wire act in that first inning, and when pitch came to shove with Sandoval on a 2-2 count, Greinke reared back, and that fastball was clocked at 96 miles an hour to strike out Sandoval and leave 3. Let's take a look now at the Dodger lineup. Having seen the Giants offensively, D. Gordon leads it off at second base. Yasiel Puig with a 9-game hitting streak bats second. Hanley Ramirez at short. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Matt Kemp is in center field. Carl Crawford in left. Sean Figgins at third base. Juan Uribe still not quite ready to test that hamstring again. Drew Butera behind the plate. Zach Greinke on the mound. On the mound for the Giants, Matt Cain, 6'3", about 230, out of Dothan, Alabama. Lives in Collierville, Tennessee. A good old boy, as they call him. He is big enough, 6'3", 200, and he'll be 30 years old in October. We mentioned it at the start of the game. Matt Cain trying to make a sandwich in the clubhouse kitchen. Ham and cheese sandwich. Got a knife to cut it in half. The knife slipped. He reached and grabbed the knife as it was falling, caught it by the blade, and had a lacerated finger. Cain's first pitch is lined into right center for a base hit for D. Gordon. Up with it is Hunter Pence. So Gordon leads the way with a single to right, and the batter will be Yasiel Puig. So D. Gordon didn't waste any time. Line drive single. And now here comes Puig. Yasiel, he walks to his own Cuban music. And last night, you may remember, he hit a home run in the 6th inning. Kind of flipped the bat and then admired it. It was quite a shot over the center field wall. Took a nice leisurely cruise around the bases. And that really ticked off Madison Bumgarner. And so Bumgarner said something to him, and Puig answered something back, and that was that. So now here's Yasiel and Gordon trying to distract, and he is a good man to distract. He has stolen 21 out of 24. So Buster Posey playing first base today, holding the corner. Gordon, of course, trying to light a fire and get something going. Cain set at the belt. Matt Reddy looks over at Gordon. There he goes, and the pitch is high. The throw is a little bit higher, and he's in underneath the tag. It was a strong, accurate throw, but Gordon is so quick, he just did get underneath it. Sanchez really made a solid throw, but D steals second. He's now stolen 22 out of 25. Fastball, the throw was there, but D's left hand got to the bag easily. Paul Schreiber right there to call it. And the tag on the elbow late every time you look at it. Though Bruce Bochy didn't see things that way. He comes out to argue, but he's looking in the dugout, and apparently he gets the word, save your argument for another time. It's the old story now. Managers go out on a hope. It was a good call because Gordon's left hand was well on the bag before the tag on the elbow. So Gordon has already awakened everybody with a first pitch single, then a stolen base, and now Puig, Ramirez, and Gonzalez trying to pick him up. Yasiel with that 9-game hitting streak. Gordon cleans himself up, and we're about ready. Cain, right foot on the rubber, set at the belt. Now Matt's ready. And the 1-0 pitch on the way, and Puig holds up on a breaking ball down and away. Ball 2. 2-0 the count. Yasiel doing exceptionally well with runners in scoring position, hitting .385. 2 balls and no strikes. Beautiful Saturday afternoon. Breeze blowing out just a little bit. Cain set, looks back at Gordon. The 2-0 pitch on the way is hit foul upstairs off to the right. 2-1 the count. So the Giants loaded the bases in the first inning, and Sandoval struck out to end the threat. Dodgers now bounce back. Gordon, first pitch, single to right. Next pitch, steal second. So D out there waiting for a ride home, and Puig up there with a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Matt Cain 5-11 against the Dodgers in his career. The pitch to Puig is foul back, out of play. 2-2 the count. For Matt Cain, the best teams for him, he is 17-8 against Colorado and 14-7 against Arizona. The teams that give him a bad time, surprisingly, San Diego, he's 7-12 with the Padres and 5-11 with the Dodgers. Matt, by giving up a stolen base steal is close to 70% success rate. Matt spins on the rubber just to take a look at Gordon. The top hitters against Matt Cain comes as a little bit of a surprise. Andre Ethier has 30 hits in his career, but he is not starting today. In fact, they asked Don Mattingly about that. We'll give you the answer in a moment. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Puig. Swung on and missed, and down he goes. So 1 out, Gordon holding, and the batter is Hanley Ramirez. Why is Ethier not in the lineup? That was the question. And the answer, Carl, meaning Carl Crawford, has been swinging good. Grammatically incorrect, but we'll take it. And he's been good against him too, meaning Cain. All right there. Way to go, Don. We get the message. Andre's not playing. But it is quite amazing to pile up 30 hits and not be in the lineup against the pitcher. So 1 away. Here's Hanley Ramirez. Ethier, to put a number with it, has a .429 batting average against Cain. Hanley waiting. Matt Cain delivers, and the first pitch slides in there nicely for a strike, and the count 0-1. Hanley is struggling. No two doubts about that. His average has drifted down to .254. 0-1 the count. So Gordon singled, stole second. Puig strikes out, and a strike one pitch coming up to Hanley Ramirez. No score, first inning, just starting. Again, Cain off the rubber, but bluffs a throw. Thought better of it as Hicks went to the bag. Matt with a very bright yellow glove, and boy, in the sunlight, that thing screams at you. I don't know if it bothers a hitter at all, but that looks like it just came out of the box. So Matt looks in to get a sign. Veteran right-hander ready, and the strike one pitch coming up. There goes Gordon. The pitch is inside. He has stolen third. So Hector Sanchez with Gordon getting good jumps, and Gordon steals second and third, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. The throw was accurate, although on the home plate side of third, so that actually Sandoval had to leave the bag to make the catch, and Gordon is in there. The door was wide open. Both legs had to leave the bag, so Sandoval never had a shot. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Cain looks over at Gordon. Now the pitch to Ramirez fouled away. 1-2 the count. Only once have I ever seen it, but I did see it. It was Jackie Robinson against Pittsburgh. Jack was annoyed over bench calling or whatever, so he promptly stole second, stole third, stole home. I don't expect Gordon to try to steal home. Jackie did it, if memory serves me right, about 19 times. In fact, you might be surprised. I think this is right from memory. Babe Ruth stole home 10 times. Here's the 1-2 pitch inside, and it hits Ramirez. So Hanley just stands in the box, now drops the bat. He hadn't left home plate yet. Now slowly, grudgingly walking towards first base. But there is a murmur here, of course, just the beginning. Brandon Belt, hit by a pitch last night, suffered a broken thumb. He's out for a good 6 weeks. Then you had the controversy with Bumgarner on Puig's home run. Now Ramirez is nailed on the elbow with Gordon at third, and he really took his time before going to first base. So the body language told you he was annoyed. Second time this year that Ramirez has been hit by a pitch. That's the first batter that Matt Cain has hit this year. So the Dodgers now first and third. Adrian Gonzalez has 21 hits against Matt Cain. He also has 4 home runs, though we'll see what he does with this at bat. Cain delivers a strike, fastball outside corner at the knees. 0-1 the count. Giants loaded the bases with 2 out, and Zach Greinke struck out Sandoval on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Now Cain is in a jam. First and third, 1 out. Now the strike 1 pitch coming up to Adrian Gonzalez way off the plate. 1-1 the count. So Matt on the DL, just coming back. Gonzalez trying to pick somebody up here. First and third, 1 out, first inning, no score. Cain set at the belt. Checks the runners again. 1-1 pitch, and that's whacked foul down the left field line. Off speed, up and away, and that's the kind of pitch that Gonzalez likes to hit the other way. In fact, if there were no base runners and they loaded up the right side of the infield, usually if Gonzalez pulls, he'll hit a ground ball, and if he tries to go to left field, he hits a fly ball. So 1-2 the count. Of course, we saw the fly ball pitcher last night, Madison Bumgarner. Dodgers hit 9 fly balls to Angel Pagan in center field. 1-2 pitch. Adrian swings and misses, and down he goes, and the Dodgers struggle continues as both Puig and Gonzalez fail to make contact. And now the batter is Matt Kemp. So Matt Kemp had a couple of base hits last night. Gonzalez angry at himself, nobody else. So first and third, 2 out. Kemp trying to get the Dodgers on the scoreboard, or the struggle will really continue. Matt, 4 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Had 2 singles to left field last night. So first and third, 2 out. Cain out of a stretch. Checks the runners at the corners, then thinks better of it and backs off the rubber. So the Giants left 3 in the first inning. Right now the Dodgers in danger of leading 2. Gordon down the line from third. Ramirez a quiet lead at first. Cain waiting, the first pitch in there for a strike, and the count 0-1 to Matt. They don't overshift. They can't quite go that far with a runner at first. But Brandon Hicks is up the middle, not quite behind second base. Crawford's on the rim at short, and the outfield deep and straight away. 0-1 the count. Cain at the belt. Matt ready, delivers inside, driving Kemp off the plate. And a 1-ball, 1-strike pitch, and a rather strategic one at that. Matt's a country boy. His family lived on a 50-acre plot of land about 30 miles from Memphis. A couple of horses, wildlife, wild turkeys and deer, rabbits, foxes, you name it. They even raised goats, but the coyotes kept eating the baby goats, so they gave that up. But he is a country boy. 1-1 pitch is taken a little high. 2-1 the count. Matt coming to the big leagues, and you have Matt going against Matt here. Kemp and Cain. Cain, growing up, had never been in a city with more than 3,000 people, ever. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up to Matt Cain, and it's off the plate, so Kemp now has the count his way. 3 balls and 1 strike. Waiting on deck is Carl Crawford. So far, when Gonzalez struck out with Gordon at third, the Dodgers are now 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position in the series. That's how frustrating they have become. The 3-1 pitch on the way to Matt Kemp. Cain delivers, swung on, hit foul down the right field line. So the only thing for the Dodgers, 3-2 with 2 down. Hanley Ramirez will be going. Posey is not going to hold him anymore. A sun-drenched crowd, and a good-sized crowd, well over 40. So a moment of truth here. First and third, 2 out, 3-2 the count. Ramirez ready to go. Kane at the belt, Kemp waiting. There goes Ramirez, and the pitch is foul back to the screen. No score, first inning. It's a lengthy first inning. Greinke made 21 pitches and escaped a bases loaded jam. Kane has made 20 pitches, still trying to get out of the inning. No score. Matt plants the right foot on the rubber. Now looks in to get a sign. Kemp trying to deliver here. Kane set. Ramirez goes, and the pitch is hit in the air to right field, but right into the glove of Hunter Pence. So the Dodgers come up empty, 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position in the series, and at the end of a noisy but quiet inning, if you can understand that, no score. Steals 2 bases and nothing comes of it, and we go to the second inning, no score. Brandon Crawford will lead it off, and the Dodgers have to be very careful with Brandon Crawford. He is high up on the list on hitting the first pitch for a base hit. It was last night. He came up in the 6th inning following a walk, and sure enough went after the first pitch and hit his 4th home run of the year. So Crawford, followed by Hicks, followed by Kane. So Zach Greinke, who made 21 pitches in the first inning, got out of it. Now working on Crawford, first ball, breaking ball, and he takes it for a strike. Interesting, too, when Greinke got out of the jam in the first inning, he struck out Sandoval with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Here's the strike one pitch. That swung on and hit into left center for a base hit. Over to get it. Picking it up is Crawford. So there's Brandon Crawford singling. Carl Crawford gets it back in. The point being, when Matt Cain got out of the jam in the first inning, he struck out Gonzalez and Puig on breaking balls that were 87 miles an hour. So a difference in style for sure. So Crawford with the base hit. That means Greinke has given up 3 hits and a walk, and we're just in the second inning. And Brandon Hicks, who hurt the Dodgers with a home run in the first game, at the plate. He goes after the first one and doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. Giants do not run a lot at all. Crawford is a break-even base stealer. 2 successful, too unsuccessful. The guys who do any running at all, well, it would be Pagan, who has stolen 6 out of 8. And Pence, who has stolen 6 out of 7. So a difference in style. The Giants have become a home run hitting team again. For years and years, when you had, oh my goodness, McCovey and Cepeda and Mays, they were the big boppers from the Bay. The last 2 years, 2012, they were champions, and they were last in the major leagues in home runs. Last year, they were 29th out of 30. But they're red hot this year, coming into the game with 44 home runs in their 36 games. Pitch in the dirt, blocked nicely by Butera, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. So Greinke is certainly off his feed. Would Greinke be cranky? Maybe. 26 pitches, no score, second inning. Dodgers are fed up with the Giants always, and especially lately, where they've been beaten 7 of the last 8 in their home park by the Giants. 2-1 pitch in the dirt, throw down to first, not in time. But Greinke now behind, 3-1 to Hicks, the number 8 hitter. There are those days, and the pitchers will tell you, maybe 75%, maybe you go to the mound with your best stuff. All the other times, you're fighting for your life out there. Greinke set, ready, here he comes, and it is low, ball 4. So no sooner out of a big jam in the first inning, he's up to his hips again here in the second. First and second, you're looking bunt, we'll see. Matt Cain is a pretty good hitter, maybe not as good as Madison Bumgarner, but he'll do. He's 3 for 10. He does not have a sacrifice. You would expect the bunt would be on. The Dodgers look for it. Gonzalez on the grass. Figgins on the grass at third. And we'll see if Cain obliges or not. Matt ready, shows bunt, and gets it down. Greinke looks at third. There's nobody there. And his throw to first is too late. Sean Figgins was coming in. He was getting out of the way. Greinke had a great play at third if he had had a third baseman. So the Dodgers, who could kick themselves for all their errors of commission, every now and then commit an error of omission. Greinke looks, nobody there. Off balance, poor throw to first, no chance. So it's another messy inning, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. For Figgins, of course, he's starting only because Uribe has been hurt. So it'll go as a base hit. And you wonder about Greinke. Bases loaded first inning, got out of it. Comes right back, bases loaded, nobody out here in the second. And one of the tough hitters at the plate, Angel Pagan, who in the parlance of the trade wears Greinke out. And he backs away from a pitch, ball 1. They are going to call it not a base hit for Cain. It will be ruled a sacrifice. Fielder's choice. But anyway you look at it, the bases are loaded with nobody out. So Angel Pagan batting left-handed. Greinke sets at the belt, looks at the runners, works his hitter, and a high fly ball into medium right center. Puig is going to catch it flat-footed. He's going to make the throw, and the runners are going to hold on a one-hopper to the plate. Wow. Everything about it was wrong except the throw. Puig was absolutely flat-footed. You never see an outfielder make a throw like that. They all have to be running. You just don't see it. And yet, with that great arm of his, and he takes great pride in it, a one-hopper to the plate, and Crawford holding. So the bases are still loaded, 1 out. A remarkable play. Not so much the accuracy of the throw, but the fact he did it virtually flat-footed. You just don't see that. So 1 away, and now Hunter Pence, who had a pop fly double to right, at the plate. Greinke delivers. He's way out in front of the first pitch. 0-1, guessing fastball. He got an off-speed pitch at 84. I have seen, I can't tell you how many outfielders not only catch the fly ball on the run, but when they release the ball, they're flat on their face in the grass. But Puig, absolutely amazing. No balls and 1 strike to count to Hunter Pence. Greinke ready, delivers, little low, 1-1. So Crawford, Brandon Crawford, single to left. Then Brandon Hicks walked. Then Kane dropped the bunt. No third baseman. It went as a sacrifice fielder's choice. Pagan on a fly ball to right is robbed of a run batted in because of Puig. And now here's Hunter Pence. 1 ball, 1 strike. Greinke ready, works Pence, and that's going to be hit in the air. Shallow. Kemp coming up, makes the catch. Crawford's going to come on Matt, and the throw has nothing behind it. And Crawford will score. So Matt Kemp, a poor throw considering how well he has thrown in the past. But that one, I don't know if it slipped out of his hand or what, but there wasn't anything on that one. So a fly ball to shallow center by Pence is good enough for a run batted in. And it is 1-0 as Brandon Crawford brought it home. So Kemp's throw was one of those multi-bounces that never quite got there. And again, I'm not sure whether it slipped out of his hand, whatever, but he'd be the first to tell you that was not a Matt Kemp throw. They're going to throw to third, hoping Crawford left the bag too soon. The umpires say no, he left on time. Figgins turns and says, I want to hear it from you. And Will Little, the third base umpire, indicates it was okay. He had already gotten the sign from Mark Carlson, but that wasn't good enough for Shane Figgins. So it is 1-0 in favor of the Giants again. And here's Buster Posey. And of course, remember that bunt by Kane, if they get an out there, they're out of the inning. Dodgers have been coming up a buck short in many innings, in many games, and consequently they're 4.5 games back. Posey single to right field in the first inning. Greinke ready and delivers. Line drive down the left field line, foul, and I think he cracked the bat. He started to walk but tested it, and apparently it was okay. It sounded to him like it did to us up here, like a celery stalk. 0-1 to Buster Posey. Brandon Hicks at second, Matt Kane at first, 2 out, 1-0 Giants. Greinke has made 35 pitches now with 2 out in the second inning. Zach will look at the runners, right-hander deals, and there's a drive to right. Here comes Puig, a diving try. He can't get it. That means 1 run comes in, and it is 2-0 in favor of San Francisco for the Dodgers. So near and yet so far. And for Greinke, remember, he is now allowed 2 runs. Puig unable to make that head-first dive. Base hit for Posey. Run batted in. Scoring is Hicks, and taking third, Matt Kane. Puig scrambling after the ball and gets it back in. He did not come close. That ball landed maybe a foot or 2 in front of him. Then it went off the fingertips. So it is 2-0 San Francisco. Now remember the streak that Greinke had. Of course, as we said earlier, he poo-poos that thing anyway. 19 games where he is not allowed more than 2 runs, and he's allowed 2, and we're in the second inning. By the way, the Dodgers are unaware of this, and it's just as well they are. When the Giants score first this year, they are 17-3, and they have scored first. 2-0 San Francisco. Greinke delivers, waved at and missed. Morse pressing, having struck out in the first inning on pitches down and away. Really chased a bad pitch there. But for Bruce Bochy, he's getting a couple of breaks. The bunt that went his way, fly ball that dropped in, and as an old baseball man, he will take it. Kane down the line from third, Posey over at first. 2 out. The 0-2 pitch to Morse, swung on and missed, and he strikes out a second time. However, the Giants pick up 2, and at the end of an inning and a half, 2-0 San Francisco. The Dodgers lead 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the second inning. And friends, don't forget tomorrow at 1:10, Dodgers and Giants. The first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Mother's Day clutch. Compliments of Mother's Cookies. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions today. The big expression in baseball when you talk about a position that's a little bit shaky and a ball is hit to that position, you immediately say they found him already. Well, for the Dodgers, with Juan Uribe out, a very rusty Sean Green, they just introduced him. Sean Figgins was playing third base, and it's been a while for Sean to be in the starting lineup. And, of course, he was not there on the biggest play of the second inning on the bunt by Matt Cain, when it looked like Greinke had a perfect play at third, except the absence of the third baseman. So it is 2-0 in favor of the Giants. When Sean Figgins got into the dugout, he was greeted by Tim Wallach, and of course Wallach pretty much wrote the book on how to play third. And then Davey Lopes came over to give him a little base running tip about Cain. Carl Crawford shows bunt, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. So Crawford, Figgins, and Butera. So again, remember that question, why is not Andre Ethier playing? Don Mattingly said Crawford has been swinging the bat well, even though Ethier has piled up 30 hits in his career against Cain. So let's see what happens following the decision. Andre chews on peanuts. Right hand is taped. That's no doubt because of blisters, taking extra batting practice. The strike 2 pitch is poked foul into the stands just beyond the Dodger dugout. And it's still 0-2 to Carl Crawford. Crawford with his 6-game streak, and during that streak hitting .550. Strike 2 pitch, he takes over his head, ball 1. So that was what Mattingly was talking about, playing Crawford over Ethier because Carl is swinging the bat so well. Every day, countless decisions even before the game for the manager. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. And Carl takes low. 2-2 the count. Matt Cain struggled in the first inning. Base hit by D. Gordon on the very first pitch, who then stole second on the very first pitch. Eventually stole third. And the Dodgers had Gonzalez strike out, Kemp fly out, and the inning went down the drain. Crawford fouls the next pitch back, and the count 2-2. Don't forget, tomorrow, Mother's Day, might be a nice time to bring Mom to Dodger Stadium. And by the way, prospects of a dandy. Tim Hudson, outstanding pitcher, will be going for the Giants. Hudson has given them a big lift. His earned run average is 1.9. And he'll be on the mound tomorrow against Clayton Kershaw. Crawford, meanwhile, lifting a fly ball shallow left. A trio of Giants, and Morse makes the catch. So one away in the second inning, and Sean Figgins coming up. Two runs, 4 hits for the Giants, no runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Figgins with Butera in the on-deck circle. Sean has appeared as a pinch hitter. Last night he came off the bench and struck out. The night before he came off the bench and singled. But today, the rare chance for him to start a game and at third base. And wouldn't you know, a pivotal play immediately. Cain's fastball in for a strike at 92, and the count 0-1. Cain looks down the barrel to get a sign. Back to the windup. Strike one pitch. Little off speed away. 1-1 the count. Matt is not an outdoorsman. He loves to hunt duck and deer hunting. He's also, they say, a very, very good golfer. Always wins the long driving contest. The next pitch outside. Well, he's 6'3" and 230. You can imagine he can bruise a golf ball for sure. 2-1 the count to Sean Figgins. The 2-1 pitch very high, ball 3. The other night we were talking about Buster Posey's father's advice to Buster about never ever show whether things are good or bad. Don't let the opposition know. Keep the same face all the time. Matt Cain got some great advice from his mom. 3-1 pitch to Figgins over his head, and at 5'8", that's not really that high. And Figgins goes to first, and that'll bring up Drew Butera. What did Matt Cain's mom have to say? His mother's name is Dolores, and she says, remember this, you can have the absolute worst day on earth, and remember, somebody else's best day is still worse. You've got a great life playing a game for a living. Absolutely. Last time we looked, I think, in all honesty, Matt makes about $20 million this year. Yep, Mom was right. He sure was. First pitch to Drew Butera, high and inside. Ball 1-1-0 the count. Butera with Greinke to follow, although Zach is not in the on-deck circle. That's a rule, or at least it used to be. You cannot leave the on-deck circle unoccupied. In the old days, the pitchers were able to sit quietly, and they thought that delayed the game. So they said, you got to be out there. There goes Figgins. The pitch, a strike. The throw is in time to get him. So Sanchez, who has a great arm, nails Figgins after Gordon stole twice. So 1 out here in the second inning. Figgins looked like he had a good jump, and it was the shortstop breaking to cover, which is a little different. With a right-hand hitter up, you're always looking for the second baseman to cover. The next pitch is down and away, and a 2-ball, 1-strike count. So Sean Figgins having one of those days, huh? 2 out, second inning, 2-0 San Francisco. Cain, both feet on the rubber. Butera checks in at the plate. Base is empty. Light breeze blowing from left to right. 2-1 pitch on the way, fouled right into the mask of Hector Sanchez. It didn't knock the mask off, but it hit him flush. The plate umpire, Mark Carlson, kind of supported the big catcher. Because how many times has he gotten a lick like this? Watch. If you're watching on TV, straight in the mask. I mean, what a shot. He staggered, and Carlson backed him up, keeping him before he fell down. And Drew Butera says, yeah, tell me about it, as he waits to the plate. 2-2. Kane ready. Matt comes to the plate, swung on, lifted to right field. Hunter Pence is there waiting, and that's the third out. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the second inning, and at the end of 2, it's the Giants 2 and the Dodgers nothing. Dodgers nothing. Be sure to spend Memorial Day with family and friends at Dodger Stadium Monday, May 26th. Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds at 5:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance take home an Andre Ethier themed barbecue apron presented by Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Andre not barbecuing, but no doubt stewing a little bit, not being in the starting lineup. 2-0 in favor of the Giants. Hector Sanchez, the busy catcher, will lead it off. And the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Right side of the Dodger infield very deep. Gonzalez on the rim and Gordon on the grass. Hector, last 7 games, hitting .360. Off speed pitch. He chases it, doesn't get it. And the count 0-2. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Top of the third. Greinke into the windup. Zach comes back 0-2, and it's high. 1-2 the count. Zach wading into a lot of trouble. Bases loaded, 2 out first inning, got out of it. Off speed, Sanchez chases it in the dirt. It's dug out. Butera throws to first, and down goes Sanchez. So 1 out here in the third inning. 4 strikeouts for Zach Greinke.
Third baseman, number 48, Pablo Sandoval.
Pablo Sandoval struck out on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball with 2 out and the bases loaded in the first inning. So Pablo checking in. Giants 2 runs, 4 hits. Dodgers no runs, 1 hit. And a big bouncer backing up at third as Figgins turns and throws it wildly to first base. Backed up by Butera. And that hit the protective railing in front of the Giant dugout. So, you know, this is a very, very tough game to play. And the old story is you can't play if you don't play. And for Sean Figgins, trying to get a start today for the first time, he's rusty at the position. So he wasn't there on a critical play. Now he throws one away, and it's all part of not playing. Of course, Figgins has been through the mill over the years, a long career. He knows all about the ups and downs. For the Dodgers, it's a case of up jumps the devil. The error is now their 35th error, and they're just starting their 38th game. First pitch swung on and missed by Brandon Crawford. As we said, he's a first ball hitter. Single to left field on the second pitch in his first at bat. Homered on the first pitch last night. Brandon, the Bruin from UCLA. Greinke trying to get out of a little bit of a jam. Crawford holds up on a slow breaking ball that came up there at 69 miles an hour. Just died of exhaustion. 0-2 the count to Brandon Crawford. Greinke on the rubber, set at the belt. Sandoval short lead at first, and the pitch a fastball up, and 1-2 the count. For Greinke, he's expending a lot of ammunition now. He's in the third inning, and he's already made 47 pitches. Zach again watching Sandoval, but he has a short lead. Crawford lifting a fly ball to left center. Kemp coming over with Crawford. Crawford will make the catch, and holding on is Sandoval. So two down, and Brandon Hicks coming up. In talking about Greinke, the fact he's made 48 pitches and he's still in the third inning. His pitch count, his high this year in Minnesota. He went 6 innings and 110 pitches, and that was in 40-degree weather. That was that brutal road trip. And Rick Honeycutt, the new grandpa, his son and bride delivered grandchild number 5 to Rick and Debbie yesterday. Little boy named Lucas. 0-1 the count to Brandon Hicks. Walk, scored a run in the second inning. Hicks homered in the series, takes a strike. Hicks is one of those fellows you wonder, will he hit enough to stay in the big leagues? He's only batting 193. But with his 17 hits, he has 4 doubles and 6 home runs and a good glove. Of course, they're not going to be able to find somebody to take over truly for Marco Scutaro. Strike 2 pitch on the way, unintentionally fouled away on a check swing. Still 0-2. Scutaro, who was so valuable to the Giants in their championship year, hit a solid .290 or thereabouts last year. But Marco with a bad back and has not been able to play. Don't know if he ever will again. Boy, what a player he was, and hopefully will be again. No balls and 2 strikes. 2-0 Giants. Top of the third. By the way, just a further note with Kane waiting on deck. Marco Scutaro, lifetime, is hitting .391 against Zach Greinke. .391. And Hicks hitting .191. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. One more of this 4-game series, and then the Giants and Dodgers won't see each other for a while. 4-game series in May, and they don't pick up again until the weekend late in July up there. 1-2 pitch is taken low. 2-2 the count. Clayton Kershaw sitting quietly in the dugout making his own notes. He'll be on the hill tomorrow against Tim Hudson. A fitting climax to the 4 games. Clayton Kershaw coming back to Dodger Stadium. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Hicks waiting. Greinke delivers. Little chopper to third. Figgins goes down to second. They get the force play, and that's that. So no runs, no hits in there. A man left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, 2-0 San Francisco. 2-0 in favor of the Giants as we go to the bottom of the third inning. Matt Cain allowed a leadoff single to Gordon, who stole second and third, and that's as close as the Dodgers have come to scoring. Remember that Matt Cain pitched a perfect game. It was back in June of 2012, at the time the 22nd perfect game in Major League history. He went on David Letterman's show, and you know the Letterman show has the top 10 list, and they had Matt Cain deliver the top 10 list, and it began, now that I've pitched a perfect game, number 10, throw a perfect game with my other arm. Wow, that's one. Convert the mound into an organic vegetable garden. Discover a cure for groin pulls. Open my dream salon. Catch a line drive with my mouth. Not funny at all as Greinke takes ball one. Fix the economy. That's just kidding. That's impossible. I'm reading the top 10. Pitch an inning without my pants. David Letterman at his best. Oh, here's another one. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Greinke takes ball two. Number 3, appear on Jay Leno's 10 at 10. Number 2, throw a hole in one. He's a very good golfer, but I don't know if he can do that. And the last one, win the contest to replace Regis Philbin. So that was the top 10, and Matt Cain had to read it on television, and the crowd got a big kick out of it. So the boy from Alabama, Matt Cain, leading 2-0. He has a 2-1 count on Zach Greinke. Matt into the windup, and the 2-1 pitch, very high, ball 3. 3-1. Dodgers' biggest weapon has been stolen bases. They lead the major leagues in stolen bases. And, of course, D. Gordon is leading the way with 2 more today to give them 42. 3-1 pitch on the way, and that's way off the plate. So Greinke draws a walk. That's the second walk plus a hit batter for Matt Cain. Sanchez out to talk to Matt, and D. Gordon coming up. So Gordon checks in. A little meeting at the mound. Greinke standing at first now, so play is ready. Cain set at the belt. Now out of a stretch. And the right-hander delivers, and it's bunted foul off to the left, out of play. 0-1. So the Dodgers playing little ball, although in all honesty they have 35 home runs, but right now there has been a paucity of runs. 0-1 to count. Cain set at the belt. It's 2-0 Giants. We're in the third. Matt looks over his left shoulder. The pitch in for a strike. Gordon showed bunt, but had no intention of dropping the bunt. Now he's in a hole. No balls and 2 strikes. Talking about Matt Cain and his perfect game. Yu Darvish, for the second time in his career, just missed a no-hitter. Strike 2 pitch, a little nubber. Cain will make the play to first. Down to second goes Greinke, and we have 1 out. So the play going 1-3. Now Yasiel Puig with the Giants leading 2-0. You might wonder about teams that have gone the longest without being no-hitted. Oakland has not been no-hitted since 1991. The Phillies since 1978. The Cubs 1965, and of course that was Sandy Koufax's perfecto. The Red Sox had last been no-hitted in 1993, and of course they just did avoid the possible no-hitter at the hands of Darvish. All right, Matt ready with a runner at second base, 1 out in the third, 2-0 Giants. Cain a look back at second. Right-handed deals and the pitch high. Fastball. 1 ball and no strikes. Zach Greinke resting at second base, waiting to get a ride home. Yasiel Puig trying to oblige. Struck out in the first inning. Kane plants the right foot very deliberately and looks in to get a sign. Matt Reddy in the 1-0 pitch to Puig. Kane delivers. Swung on and missed. Breaking ball down and away. Kane slider. 1-1. Yasiel fussing. We've always said one of the reasons the games are getting longer can be blamed on Velcro. The Velcro on the glove, and I'm not kidding. They're forever backing out, touching the Velcro, pulling it open, back again. 1 ball, 1 strike. And a little ground ball. There goes Greinke to third, and the out recorded at first. That was a big gamble for Greinke to go over to third on the ground ball to the shortstop, but the ball was not hit that hard, so he took the gamble and got away with it. So Puig is 0 for 2, and Hanley Ramirez coming up. Hanley hit on the elbow in the first inning. Took a long time before he got to first base. So Greinke at second base as Puig grounds out. So the Dodgers now are 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position in the series. Brandon Hicks on the edge of the grass, way over to his right, not quite up the middle. Ramirez takes a big breaking ball that misses, ball 1. Hanley Ramirez has to hit to make the Dodgers go, without a doubt. 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in, but he's the man. When you hit in the number 3 slot, you are the man indeed. 1 ball and no strikes. Kane ready. Matt delivers. Ground foul outside of third. With a runner at third, as we always do, we check. Matt Kane does not have a wild pitch. So Matt, who came to the Giants back in 2005 and started out by winning 13 games. Took him several years before he could get back to that when he picked up 14 in 2009. But he's been in double figures, the highest, 16 games won in 2012. 1-1 pitch, that's in there. Ramirez kind of turns and looks over at the dugout for a moment. The body language tells you right then, he looks over at the dugout as if, hey, can you believe that? I mean, sometimes you can just be sure of the body language. 1-2 the count to Hanley. 2-0 favor the Giants, third inning. Kane delivers in tight. So the Dodgers left Gordon at third in the first inning. Now they have Greinke at third with 2 out here in the third inning. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. You know, you look at Greinke standing at third. He's made 54 pitches so far, and we're only in the third inning. But you wonder about the cost of that error at third as Ramirez strikes out. So the Dodgers really, right now, they're on a treadmill to oblivion. They are spinning their wheels. And at the end of 3, it's 2-0 San Francisco. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Honda. This is not a drill. Get a great deal on a new Honda right now during the Spring into a Honda sales event. Fourth inning here at Dodger Stadium on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon. The temperature 70 degrees when the game started. It's probably gone up a notch or two since. Dodgers remain cold and the Giants lead 2-0. Matt Cain followed by Angel Pagan and then Hunter Pence. Matt sacrificed. That was the bunt when Greinke thought he had to play at third and Figgins wasn't there. That was a huge play. Not only the play itself, but what it did to Greinke. Greinke has made 54 pitches, but because of the missing man at third base, he had to make 6 extra pitches, and it cost him a couple of runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Through 3 innings, each pitcher made the same number of pitches, 54. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2 in the dirt. Tomorrow afternoon, Tim Hudson and Clayton Kershaw on Mother's Day. If he can, hope he'll be out here with us. And then Miami, led by Giancarlo Stanton, Monday night. Tim Hudson getting a little raise right now. 2-2 to Matt. I love that Letterman line. Pitch a no-hitter with the other arm. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Got him. So Cain has a good look and pays for it. Strikeout number 5 for Greinke. And the batter will be Angel Pagan. Pagan has grounded out and flied to right field. That was the play when Puig made the rather remarkable throw. Crawford held at third only to come home on the fly ball by Pence. A bunt on the chalk. They'll let it roll and it goes foul. So Pagan will have to come back and try it again. In case you care about such things, we have a lull here for the moment. Pagan last night had 9 fly ball putouts. 9. The record is 12, and the last time it was done in a 9-inning game, Jacoby Ellsbury of the then Boston Red Sox and now a Yankee had 12 putouts in center field. Any way you cut it, that's a lot of outs. Was Bumgarner definitely a fly ball pitcher, and that was on display last night. 0-1 the count to Angel. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants, no runs, 1 hit, a single by Gordon on the first pitch of the game for the Dodgers. That's it. Dodgers have gotten 2 men to third. Gordon single, stole second and third, and Greinke reached third, having walked in the 3rd inning. So for Mattingly, he's got to be thoroughly frustrated so far, as the club really in an overall slump. 1 ball, 1 strike. Off speed, lifted to left field. Here comes Crawford. So 2 out in the 4th inning, and Hunter Pence coming up. Pence pop fly double to right, got as far as 3rd in the 1st inning, then had the sac fly in the 2nd. The ball hit to Matt Kemp. I was looking out for the moment. It's fun to not just watch the game, watch the individual players. As Pence came up, I instinctively look at Matt Kemp. He's out there in center field, his head's down, he's kind of scraping at the grass. He's just lifted his head now. But I'm sure when they announce Pence, he's thinking of the poor throw, I believe. Big rip and nothing happens. 0-2. So Matt, in that world, that's a problem too for an outfielder. I mean, the lapses in between, it's normal to think either happy thoughts or ugly thoughts, and then suddenly the ball is hit. Chopper to Ramirez. Boy, I tell you, Pence runs everything out, doesn't he? Whoa. So for the first time, Greinke has a 1-2-3 inning. And at the end of 3 1/2, the Giants still lead, however, 2-0. In the 4th inning, the Giants holding on to a 2-0 lead. What's ahead for the Dodgers? Well, tomorrow the Giants will be here to conclude the 4 games. That's Tim Hudson and Clayton Kershaw. The Marlins then come in starting Monday night for 3. Then the Dodgers go out on the road to Arizona on the weekend. Then they go all the way east to New York and Philadelphia. They will come back on May the 26th. Open up 3 with Cincinnati, 4 with Pittsburgh, and 3 with the Chicago White Sox. By that time, the Dodgers will be into June. Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Kemp, Carl Crawford. Gonzalez trying to get Gordon home, desperate to get a run, struck out in the 1st inning. Matt Cain leading 2-0, coming back off the DL. 0-2. Pretty good sink on that pitch. No balls and 2 strikes. Just off the plate. That scattered setup. Sandoval all alone on the left side. Crawford not quite up the middle. Hicks way out in right field. And a hopper. It finds the hole, but Hicks picks it up. But he doesn't have a play. So Gonzalez leads off and finds a hole. It's tough. And he gets the base hit. As we said, it follows form. When they load up one side, he usually hits ground balls. And the other way, he'll hit a fly ball. He rarely hits a ground ball to left field. So a leadoff single for Adrian. We'll call it a base hit to center. And the batter is Matt Kemp. Kemp flied to right field in the 1st inning. Matt 2 for 4 and 2 for 3 last night. He had 1 hit in the 1st game. And ball one. 1-0. Two runs, 4 hits for the Giants. They scored the runs in the second inning. They had loaded the bases and failed to score in the first inning. One ball and no strikes. 1-1. Good fastball, good swing, and it results in a foul ball. 1-1. Matt Kemp, 4 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Has a little 2-game hitting streak. 1-1. 1-2. Talking about hitting streaks, do you ever wonder what did Joe DiMaggio do the night that he was stopped on the road in Cleveland? The night that third baseman Kenny Keltner took 2 base hits away from him and the streak went down the drain. It's kind of interesting. Joe, of course, was always very quiet, somewhat remote. Ground ball backhanded by Crawford. They'll get 1, they'll get 2, and we have 2 down, so we better talk about Joe DiMaggio. Anyway, Yankees are in Cleveland, and he's shut down. Goes back into the clubhouse. A couple of guys go by and say, "Nice going, Joe, great streak," but otherwise very quiet. And it's typical of DiMaggio. He didn't leave the clubhouse. He just sat there smoking cigarettes. He smoked. And he said to Phil Rizzuto, "Phil, stay here with me." Rizzuto would have done anything that DiMaggio asked anyway, so Phil said, "Okay, Joe." 0-1, the foul ball. So a little over 2 hours later, everyone had left. DiMaggio then got dressed. Rizzuto got dressed. And where the Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, where that was walking distance to their hotel. But Joe waited over 2 hours, not only for the park to empty, but for those who linger outside the ballpark to also disappear. And finally, he thinks it's quiet enough. That's going to be a line drive, but guess who? Pagan's at the other end. So DiMaggio and Rizzuto leave the ballpark and they begin to walk back to the hotel. What happens next? We'll tell you about it right after this. 2-0 Giants. And a reminder, Tuesday at 7:10, Dodgers Marlins, and the first 50,000 fans at the game receive a Yasiel Puig bobblehead. Compliments of Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Fifth inning, Buster Posey, Michael Morse, Hector Sanchez. Yasiel Puig in right field, waiting for the inning to start. They saluted him after we mentioned the bobblehead. And a strike to Posey. Where were we? Joe DiMaggio and Phil Rizzuto decide to leave the ballpark and walk to the hotel. Streets are empty, no real traffic. DiMaggio suddenly turns to Rizzuto and says, "You have any money?" That's a strike. 0-2. Phil said, "Yeah, I have a little." Joe said, "You know what? I left my wallet in the little security box they had in the dressing room." "How much money do you have?" Rizzuto counted. "I got $18, Joe." "Give it to me." "Okay, Joe." They keep walking, and they come to a restaurant bar. You could say a saloon. And Joe said, "I'm going in here." Phil said, "Fine, I'll go with you." Joe said, "No. Nope. Thanks for the money. I'll see you later. I want to be alone." And he went into this quiet little bar with $18. I'm sure he didn't spend it all. And that was the end of the 56-game hitting streak. That's how it went for Joe D. 2-2 the count now to Buster Posey. First time I ever met Joe, it was a spring training exhibition game at Yankee Stadium. I walked up the steps into the Yankee dugout, and DiMaggio was standing, one foot on the top step, one below, leaning on his knee, chin in his hand, thin mustache, and watching the players take BP. And what was really interesting, the Yankee players, as they came into the dugout, it was almost as if they were walking by something sacred. There was no "Hi, Joe," or no, nothing. They would look and they would just kind of walk around him. He was quite a figure in the game of baseball, and especially in those days. That's ball 3 to Posey. Those were the somewhat naive days, the summer of 1941, just before Pearl Harbor and World War II. There was a great song they sang all across the country, "Joe, Joe DiMaggio, we want you on our side." 3-2 the count to Buster. And he's aboard with a walk, ball 4. One other thing, Joe didn't spend that much time in that saloon, quietly grieving over the end of the hit streak. He went back, put on the uniform the next day, and began another 16-game hitting streak. He was really remarkable. Truly remarkable. Okay, nothing much going on for the moment, so we can talk about Joe D. A walk to Posey, leading off the 5th. The pitchers have been pitch for pitch. In the 3rd inning, they each had made 54 pitches. After the 4th inning, they had each made 65 pitches. Ground ball into left field for a base hit. Stopping at second is Posey on the base hit by Michael Morse, and the batter will be Hector Sanchez.
Next catcher, number 29, Hector Sanchez.
So Morse, who had struck out twice, singles, and now here's the switch hitting catcher, Hector Sanchez. Sanchez grew up in Venezuela. He was about 15 years old when he decided to leave the 9th grade and attend a baseball academy for 2 years. He was a kid shortstop, and they made him a catcher, and it certainly has paid off. 0-1 the count to Hector. Hector, like so many other players with a lot of tattoos, one of them, there's a big A flanked by blue angel wings. That's in honor of his late grandfather, Armando. That's somewhere on the right wrist, but Can't see that. It's all taped up and covered. 0-1. 0-2. On his left arm is a tattoo that says, "Learn like you will live forever. Live like you will die tomorrow." And he has the same 2 sentences on his right arm in Spanish. And he has a bunch more. He has a cross with rosaries in honor of his deceased grandmother. Another foul ball. No balls and 2 strikes. Can't see it because of the batting gloves. He has a rose on the back of his right hand with Esmeralda. That's his mom's name. On his knuckles, the knuckles on the left spell out LOVE, and on the right HOPE, which he said that's the first word I learned in English, hope. Well, they'll take that quiet walk back with the tattoos. 1 down, and Pablo Sandoval coming up. For Greinke, 6 strikeouts. He's only had 1 easy inning. That was the 4th. Retired the side in order and made only 11 pitches. So 2 on, 1 out, and here's Sandoval. Sandoval struck out with the bases loaded and reached on the throwing error charged to Figgins. In the dirt, scrambling block by Butera. 1 ball and no strikes. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Dodgers have gotten 2 men to third base. Gordon, who stole third, and Greinke, who reached third on a couple of ground balls after walking. 1 ball and no strikes. Comebacker. Greinke goes to his shortstop for 1. Back to first, double play. What a marvelous lead by Greinke. What he did, he whirled, and Ramirez was coming with a left-hand hitter. And watch the throw. Big league. First the catch, now you lead him, and he makes the catch while he's across the bag for the double play. Beautiful play to see. It's still 2-0 Giants. Running, well, imagine running in the big leagues, sliding into the bag, picking it up. You're running against the clock, and to the delight of the crowd, you have won. Oh, what a marvelous thrill. Nice going, young man. For the crowd, that's really been the only chance they've had to make any noise, to cheer this youngster carrying second base. Let's see what they do now. Figgins, Butera, and Greinke, the bottom three in the lineup. Figgins walked in the second inning and was erased on a force play. Actually trying to steal. 1 ball and no strikes. Dodgers scoring 1 run in the first game, 1 run in the second game, and zip so far here in the third game. 1-1 the count to Sean Figgins. Juan Uribe, the report is that they're just being extremely conservative before they let him play. He actually hit, he threw, he took ground balls. It all went well. Mattingly said that Uribe will run soon, and that will be the biggest test. Stan Conti will make the decision after that. Early, 10 o'clock this morning, Uribe was throwing out in left field. 2-2. Two balls and 2 strikes. Figgins, 36 years old, out of Georgia, and a flare caught by Crawford. So 1 out, and the batter Butera. The Dodgers have 2 hits. Gordon hit the first pitch from Matt Cain for a single. And Gonzalez led off the 4th inning with a single, and that's it. Greinke has made 79 pitches. Cain has made 70 with 1 out. And a strike. Greinke will be up in a minute. Again, the on-deck circle is empty. Are you old enough to remember that they never had the pitcher go to the on-deck circle? Most of the time, for years and years and years, the leadoff man always went into the on-deck circle to allow the pitcher to rest comfortably in the dugout. And the rules committee finally said, wait a minute, no, that's not fair. Let's make the pitcher take his turn. And that's pretty important. You're playing day games in St. Louis, and the humidity in Cincinnati. Well, Butera, he goes down swinging. 2 out in the 5th inning. Matt Cain is certainly not overpowering, but he's certainly getting the job done as well. 4 strikeouts from Matt. Greinke has 6.
Pitcher, number 21.
And Zach coming up. Thinking about the changes about forcing the pitcher to take his turn in the on-deck circle. How about this one? Are you old enough to remember when the players left their gloves out on the field? Yeah. Yeah, the inning would end and they just throw the gloves and go to the dugout. That's going to go foul. 0-1. I'm guessing now, but I think they changed that about 1953, I think. And you know, I never saw a game where the glove, which had been left by the shortstop or whatever, I never saw the glove get in the way of the game. Never saw anybody step on the glove. Never saw a ball hit the glove. The first baseman and the third baseman, they would drop their gloves usually in foul ground. But everybody else dropped them right at their position. Little foul, that's going to go out of play. Admittedly, if you're the second baseman for Team A Team B, his second baseman has put the glove down. You might go out and flip the glove a little bit out of what you think is your area. Yeah, they played for years that way and no problem. 0-2 to Greinke. And that one is popped down the right field line. A trio of Giants. It's the middleman. So Hicks makes the catch. The Dodgers tiptoe through 5, and it's still 2-0 Giants. The Dodgers were in St. Louis. They went 12 innings to beat the Cardinals 3-2. That was Tommy Lasorda's 3,000th managerial game. What a career for 20 years. Tommy had 2 World Championships, 4 pennant winners, and 8 division championships. And of course, as you know, eventually entered the Hall of Fame. Big day, just part of a great career for Tommy Lasorda. And with that, let's go back to this one. Sixth inning, it's still 2-0 in favor of the Giants. Brandon Crawford, first ball hitter, sure enough, fouls it back. 0-1. Crawford followed by Hicks, followed by Kane. Greinke in his 5 innings made 79 pitches. Kane in his 5 innings 77. So they've really been matching one another. We mentioned the fact that Brandon Crawford goes after that first pitch. He's 10 for 20 going after the first pitch. High fly ball to left. Crawford is there. So Brandon hits it to Carl, and we have 1 out in the 6th inning. Most hits in the National League so far this year on the first pitch. Carlos Gomez with 15 hits, hitting .517. Justin Morrow 11 hits, .440. Crawford 10 hits, .500. G.J. LeMahieu 10 hits, and Hanley Ramirez 10 hits on the first pitch. 0-1. Hicks walked, scored a run, hit into a force play. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. 0-2 the count to Brandon Hicks. Greinke off his feed the first 2 innings. He made 39 pitches in the first 2 innings. Gave up 4 hits. Gave up 2 walks. And eventually 2 runs. And has settled down since. 1-2. On deck, Matt Cain. Fouled away. One and two the count to Brandon Hicks. 1 away. 6th inning, 2-0 Giants, trying to make it 3 in a row against the Dodgers. Matt Cain on deck. Giants were extremely hot. They had won 10 out of 11. They went to Pittsburgh and lost 2 in a row. And they've come here to win 2, trying to make it 3 and get off on another tear. 1-2 the count. Hudson and Kershaw tomorrow, and then the Dodgers will play Miami. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Inside for ball 3. Giants will go home. They'll go home to play Atlanta and then Miami. So Miami will come here and then go north. And down goes Hicks. 7 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. Not bad for a fella who was really off his game the first 2 innings. Good breaking ball. A bottom dropped out. So Matt Cain sacrificed. That turned out to be a big play. It cost Greinke an additional 6 pitches, and it also set up 2 runs in the inning. That was the bunt when Figgins left his position. Greinke fielded it, turned to throw. There wasn't anybody there. That was a huge play back in the 2nd inning. 1 ball, no strikes. 2-0 to Matt. Cain came into the game batting .300. 3 for 10. Now 3 for 11. So he's given up a lot of points. 2-0. 2-1. Madison Bumgarner has put on a show so far with the bat this year. Bumgarner has 5 hits, including a double and a home run. The home run, grand slam. You don't see his face, but you can see his hands, and those hands did a job last night. 2-2 the count to Matt Cain. When the Dodgers come up in the 6th inning, they'll try to get something started with Gordon. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Got him. So Hicks and Cain strike out. All of a sudden you look up. Zach Greinke has struck out 8. But at the end of 5.5, he's still trailing 2-0. And the star of the show is sitting here quietly, fortunately in shade. Wow, what a sight. And for those of you truly honored to be called mother, we will certainly be delighted to honor you tomorrow. I hope they have a little bonnet for her. Checking the money already. Where'd the dough go? Meanwhile, the Dodgers are not thinking about babies and good times. They are struggling. They would be the first to admit it. It'll be Gordon, Puig, and Ramirez trying to get something started. They've been mesmerized so far through 5 by Matt Cain. Giants turned a double play on Matt Kemp in the 4th inning. Interesting note, they've now turned 14 double plays in the 8 games plus on this road trip, and on this trip they're 6-2. So the glove is so very important and yet so often overlooked. Ball 1. Gordon hit the very first pitch to start the bottom of the 1st inning. Singled, then stole 2nd, eventually stole 3rd, but with all of that hard work, Dodgers unable to get him home. Breeze blowing left to right, the prevailing breeze here. 2-0. Yeah, there's testimony. Gorgeous day. It was 70 degrees when the game started. Crowd enjoying every bit of the weather. And ball 3. Cain has walked 2 and hit a batter. Dodgers have had Gordon get to 3rd in the 1st inning. Greinke get to 3rd in the 3rd, but nobody's gotten home. That's a strike. 3-1. And he is aboard, so that'll wake up the crowd a little bit. So D draws the walk. 3rd walk given up by Matt Cain. And the batter, Yasiel Puig. Puig struck out, grounded to short, 0 for 2 last night. Hit a home run, and then was robbed of a hit on a great diving catch by Angel Pagan. And in game 1, he was 1 for 3, and he was robbed of a hit on a great catch by Brandon Belt. So he's hit the ball harder than the numbers would indicate. 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 2 for 7. Though he's now 2 for 9, and he has a 9-game hitting streak on the line. I don't know what happened on that pitch. See if Hector Sanchez is all right. Can we see that again, I wonder? Foul ball got Sanchez again badly. Wow. This may be worse than the first time, but the exact same result. He's staggered, and he's supported by the plate umpire, Mark Carlson. Puig staggered too. That's why it looks so strange up here. So timeout for the moment. Of course, Bruce Bochy, who was a catcher for many years out there, understands exactly what Sanchez is going through. Got him on the left side of the jaw. Watch the previous time it happened. Exact same reaction. This was Butera. Got him again, staggered and held up and supported by Mark Carlson. So he has taken 2 really bad licks behind the plate. But you really want to get a testimony about how tough it is. See the Cardinals and their fine manager Mike Matheny, who had a brilliant career, pretty much cut short because of concussions. Yeah, just because he stays in the game Doesn't mean he's not free from the wobbles. No balls and 1 strike. Sanchez no doubt thinking about the fact when he was 15 he was a shortstop and somebody got the bright idea to make him a catcher. But it's his livelihood, but it is a tough way to make it. Gordon, who stole second and third in the first inning, trying to at least upset the rhythm, distract Kane as best he can without being picked off. Gordon has stolen 23 out of 26. Oh and 1. There he goes. Down and away, no chance. No play. Pitch was in the dirt. Sanchez just about blocked it. No way he was going to whirl around, pick it up, especially after just taking that heavy lick to the head. So Gordon has stolen 3 today. He's now 24 out of 27. That's one thing about the Giants. They have been victimized by the stolen base. When they came in here, they had already allowed 30 stolen bases. And now Gordon has already stolen 3 today. One ball and 1 strike to Yasiel Puig. Hanley Ramirez on deck. In at the knuckles. 2-1 to count. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. They scored all 2 runs in the second inning. Might not have scored, except the Dodgers unable to make a play on a sacrifice bunt by Kane. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have not been able to do anything offensively. Puig, after a hard swing, back up to the plate. 2-1 to count. And a fly ball, that's all it is. Coming in is Morse. Going out is Crawford. It's going to drop. Going to third is Gordon. Holding at first is Puig. And the Dodgers get a big break. I immediately look at the flags. They are not moving. It's not like the wind was blowing just a couple of minutes ago. They're dead out there. But the fly ball, Morse, apparently always has the shortstop Crawford gone out. Crawford really took off as soon as the ball was hit. Morse coming, but it was to his left. And it drops untouched for a base hit. So the Dodgers get a gift. Puig gets a base hit on a fly ball that should have been caught. And the Dodgers have runners at first and third and nobody out. So first and third, nobody out. The crowd alive now. That's a 10-game hitting streak for Yasiel. He'll take the gift. And here's Ramirez, hit by a pitch and struck out. Ball 1. Every pitch that Ramirez has seen pretty much has been on top of him. The old story, they don't like power hitters to extend their arms. So Kane really in his first jam since the first inning. 1-1. Remember, it took Ramirez a while to get his rhythm, get his stroke. Then he had it for a few games, and then he got hurt again. 1 ball, 1 strike. Puig, the tying run over there. Puig has stolen 4 bases, 4 out of 6. Gordon has stolen 3 bases today to give him 24. So first and third, nobody out. 1 ball, 1 strike, the count on Ramirez. And a high foul might be playable. Here comes Sanchez. Whoa, he dropped it. It might be the combination. The railing, the fans, but also after that 2 hard licks he's taken to the head. He's taken enough. He's got it there, and he might have just seen that wire fence, taken his eye off the ball. Right there, he looks, he juggles, whoops, like a glass on a wet tray. Can't make it. All right, huge break. Let's see what Ramirez can do with it. 1-2. Well, Sanchez is bouncing around pretty well for a guy who's been hit in the head twice. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That was such a difficult play. Score rules, no play, no error. But the Dodgers get a big break. Next at bat here for Hanley Ramirez. Crowd a chance to come alive for the first time today. A fake and a throw. You don't see pitchers throw to third very often. Normally it's a look at third and whirl, throw to first. And that always brings up the point why left-hand batters have such a better chance of winning a batting championship, because they have a lot of at-bats where the first baseman is on the bag. The third baseman is never holding a runner on the bag. Gene Machi gets up again down in the Giant bullpen. We haven't seen him in a game yet, but we've seen him up. And Machi is joined by Jeremy Affeldt. So 3-2, nobody out. What would you do with Puig if you were Don Mattingly? Would you run him with nobody out? Ramirez struggling at the plate. So we'll see in a moment. Puig does not go on ball 4, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. Remember, Kane had been on the DL for 15 days with the cut finger. And I guess by now his pitch count up to 92. And Boshi coming out to lift him, I'm pretty sure. So Matt gives him the ball, gets a pat on the back, and out he goes in a spot where he went 5. So he could win it, he could have nothing to do with it, or he could lose it. And we'll be back after this. A little bit, I'm sure, on the railing. 92 pitches. He's responsible for all 3 runners, so he leaves in an unenviable spot if you're a pitcher. You have a shot to win. If 2 runs scored charge to you, then you can't win or lose. And if all 3 score in your book, you could then lose. So it's up to Jeremy Affeldt right now to try to bail him out. Affeldt, interesting guy, among other things. Last year he released a book he wrote entitled To Stir a Movement, Life, Justice, and Major League Baseball. That was about his hope to start a movement to help the needy and the marginalized. He then wrote a second book called No Man, the start of a verse that Affeldt has tattooed on his pitching arm. And the tattoo reads, "No man shall live for himself." So there's a lot going on in the mind of Jeremy Affeldt besides balls and strikes. His dad was a bombardier on a B-52. So he's inherited a bomb situation here. Bases loaded, nobody out. Adrian Gonzalez 1 for 2 at the plate. Adrian has 4 grand slams in his career. The last one in 2010. And he's done well against Affeldt. Ball 1. Infield back in double play depth. They'll give up a run for an out or 2. And hitting behind Gonzalez, Matt Kemp. 1 ball and no strikes. Ground ball to the right side. Hicks has it, goes to Crawford. They go back to first to Posey. Double play. Scoring is Gordon. No run batted in. And when the dust settles, the Dodgers now have given up 2 down while picking up 1. And the batter will be Matt Kemp. 4-6-3 if you're scoring. That takes Ramirez off the bases, advances Puig, and scores Gordon. No RBI. So that run is charged to Matt Cain, but Affeldt got 2 big outs. Now Matt Kemp with a tying run 90 feet away and 2 down. And a strike on 1. Matt Kemp in the past 3 for 10, hitting 300 against Affeldt. But again, remember, Gonzalez was hitting 348 against him. Two to 1 in favor of the Giants. We're only in the 6th inning. Hard ground ball through, and the Dodgers have tied it up on a single by Matt Kemp. So now, after all of his hard work, Matt Cain can't win. Inning is still alive, and the batter will be Carl Crawford. Crawford flied to left, flied to center 0 for 2. Diving try by Brandon Crawford. No way could have prevented the run from scoring anyway. Two here in the 6th inning. When the Giants come up in the 7th, they'll have Pagan, Pence, and Posey. Fastball, but he missed with it. So Puig talking to Gonzalez. No doubt about the frustrations of this game. One ball, no strikes. And of course, for Puig, another lesson learned, watching the veteran handle having just hit into a double play. Oh, what a nice play by Brandon Crawford. He has really put on a clinic defensively. Dodgers get 2. Matt Kemp comes up with a clutch base hit to drive in the tying run. Been a frustrating series. The Dodgers have scored as many here in the 6th as in 2 previous games, and it's a 2-2 tie. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box and try the new Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. It's Jack's hottest sandwich yet. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. 7th inning, Angel Pagan followed by Hunter Pence and then Buster Posey, and the first pitch misses. 1 ball and no strikes to Angel. He is 0 for 3. Grounded out, fly deep to right, fly to left. Almost came out from under his helmet. 1 ball and 1 strike. Angel from Puerto Rico. A very poor neighborhood. I'll never forget, they asked him about his background, and he said, most of my friends are either dead or in jail. Fouled off. Poor neighborhood, drugs, gangs. Baseball saved his life. Good player, too. 1-2 to Angel Pagan. Dodgers labored hard and long and got 2 runs to tie up the game in the 6th inning. Slow breaking ball, still 1-2. Jeremy Affeldt did a good job in relief. Came in, bases loaded, nobody out, made 6 pitches, gave up 2 runs, and got out of it. So here we are in the 7th. Greinke, pitch count up to 98. After, remember, making 39 pitches in the first 2 innings. 1-2. Slow curveball hit Kemp, puts it away. So Pagan goes 0 for 4, and Hunter Pence coming up. Pence got a pop fly double to right, had a sacrifice fly to drive in Crawford in the 2nd inning, and last time up grounded to short. The most pitches for Zach Greinke so far this year, 110 in Minnesota in that 40-degree weather, where he's right up to 99, ready for 100. Big breaking ball, ball 1. Zach, remember, still has the string. 19 consecutive starts where he's allowed 2 runs or less. Right. 1-1. And it certainly looked like he was in a lot of trouble as far as that string is concerned, because the Giants got to him for 2 runs in the second inning. In fact, they had the bases loaded with 2 out in the first inning, and he struck out Sandoval. 2-1. Final game tomorrow, Giants, Dodgers. Tim Hudson, Clayton Kershaw on Mother's Day. Tim Hudson enjoying the sun. He'll be right in the middle of things tomorrow. Comebacker, nice fielding job by Greinke, and that'll do it. Don't you love Pence? I mean, even on a comebacker, he's running like he has a shot for a base hit. Just love that. Watch him dig. Now he's going to be out before he leaves the box. Is he going to jog? He's going to run any minute to make it. Really admire that. So 2 down in the 7th, and Buster Posey coming up. And ball 1. Posey single to right twice and walked. He's 2 for 2. In the dirt. When you get to the later innings, 7th inning on, and you have a tied up ball game, it's pretty realistic to think that it'll become the battle of the bullpens. And that's a very interesting thing. The Giants starters are 12-11, and the Dodgers starters are 15-8. But when it becomes the battle of the bullpens, the Giants overwhelmingly favored. Why? The Giant bullpen has the most victories in the majors, 11, only 2 losses. They also have the best earned run average in the majors, 1.7. The Dodger bullpen, 4 wins, 10 losses. Though we will see. They let Posey swing 3-0. 3-1. Posey playing first base. Without Brandon Belt, the Giants admit they are hurting, and they will be hurting for, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks at least, out with a broken thumb. So Posey will catch. He'll play first a lot. Hector Sanchez can catch. He can also play first base. Line drive, base hit. So Posey 3 for 3 and a walk against Greinke.
Next, left fielder, Michael Morris.
And Michael Morris coming up. Let's just see, has it always been that way? Greinke and Posey? No. Posey came into the game hitting 111 against Greinke. 1 for 9. He sure has turned that thing around. So Posey at first, 2 out. Michael Morris, always a home run threat, struck out twice, single to left. 0-1. Hector Sanchez, the switch hitting catcher, on deck. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 7th, it'll be the bottom of the lineup: Figgins, Butera, and Greinke, or a hitter, because they have the bullpen now warming up. 0-1. And that missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chris Perez gets up in the Dodger bullpen. That's looking for the bottom of the 7th. 2 down here in the top half. Posey at first. And hit by the pitch. And Greinke, now having made 110 pitches, hits Morris. And that'll bring up Sanchez. 111 pitches. Take another look. Just rode in. Got him right about on the rib cage. Can't get out of the way. Rick Honeycutt is going to go out and talk to Greinke. Perhaps refresh his memory as to how they like to pitch to Sanchez. He's done a pretty good job against the catcher. He walked him in the first inning, but then struck him out in the third and struck him out in the fifth. 111 pitches in a meeting at the mound. To repeat, that would be the most pitches made by Greinke in a game this year. It had been 110. He's gone 111, and he's going to have to make at least one more against the switch-hitting catcher who has been very, very good with runners in scoring position. Sanchez is hitting .316 with runners in scoring position. So don't let the .231 batting average fool you. And we'll see what he does now. First and second, 2 out. 7th inning, 2-2 tie. Ground ball to third. Figgins just goes to the bag, and that's that. No runs. A hit batter and a base hit, 2 left. And we're heading to the bottom of the 7th, 2-2. It's another tough one. The Giants and the Dodgers are all locked in at 2. The previous 2 games both wound up 3-1 Giants. We've reached the bottom of the 7th inning, and it'll be Sean Figgins who'll turn around to bat right-handed, followed by Butera, and then I'm sure a hitter for Greinke. Greinke wound up making 112 pitches. Figgins trying to get something started. Walk, looped out to short. Watching Greinke, you're never sure whether he's going to come out or not, but you would think he'll give way. Brian Wilson is warming up, and the bunt foul, and the count 0-1. So Chris Perez were up in the 7th inning. Wilson now will get ready, I believe, down there for the 8th inning, and then Kenley Jansen. But again, it has come down to a battle of the bullpens. The Giant relievers are 11-2, and the Dodgers are 4-10. Greinke, who is as smart as they come, as well as talented, standing between Mattingly and Wallach. 1 ball and 1 strike to Sean Figgins. Then it'll be Butera. Greinke's still there, although I would have to guess he's done. Breaking ball for a strike, 1-2. Sanchez lately, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but he's dropped quite a few pitches ever since he's been hit on the side of the head. Of course, he did have that foul ball spin out of the glove, but that was a tough play going into that little wire screen. See that? I mean, he hasn't caught a pitch, and the throw is going to be in time. Again, I'm probably reading much too much into it, but I just sat there watching, thinking, wow, he's boxing a lot of pitches. It's going to be a pass ball. Watch this. And another lick. So a couple of foul balls, then the pitch that gets away, and then after all of that, then he has to go back to try and catch the foul ball. And he's coming into the screen, and it jumps out as he bangs the screen. And then he had to go to the backstop to chase that pitch and throw the man out. So it's a gritty job for Hector Sanchez. Butera has flied to right and struck out. Justin Turner comes out on deck. And that's slapped into right center field for a base hit, and Pence can't cut it off. Butera is into second base, standing with a double. So Drew Butera, line drive double to right center. He's 1 for 3, and now it'll be up to Justin Turner to pick him up, or D. Gordon.
Attention, please, for the Dodgers. Pinch hitting number 10, Justin Turner.
So Butera, a line drive double. That's his first double. He has 2 home runs this year. And now Turner trying to pick him up and get the Dodgers out in front. Turner hitting just 182. Did not appear in last night's game. So Greinke continues as far as that streak. He doesn't really think much about it, but it's remarkable. He has made 20 consecutive starts where he has not allowed more than 2 runs. 20 straight. And he allowed 2 today. 1-1 to Turner. Behind Affeldt, Gene Machi is up. And as we told you, Brian Wilson will pick up. One ball and 1 strike to Justin Turner. The lad from Long Beach. Went to school at Cal State Fullerton. Fastball, 1-2. Turner spent the last few years in the New York Mets organization, where he spent quite a bit of time shuffling off to Buffalo from New York. He even played in the New York Penn League for Brooklyn. One and 2. Fastball Brandon Hicks at the other end of it. That advances Butera to third, and it leaves it up to D. Gordon.
Dodgers second baseman, number 9, D. Gordon.
D. Gordon singled to right, stole second, and later on in the first inning stole third, but the Dodgers left him. Hit back to the box in the third inning and walked in the sixth, and came around to score while the Giants were pulling off a double play. So now Sandoval comes well in on the grass. Posey is up about even with the grass, and we'll see what Gordon has in mind, trying to get Butera home. Ball one. In the past, looking at Gordon, he is 1 for 2 against Jeremy Affeldt. Ball two. Greinke sitting quietly in the dugout after another magnificent effort. 112 pitches. Dodgers trying to get him a run here in the seventh inning. And a chopper, fair ball down the line. Butera scores. Gordon is on his way into second base. A bouncer just inside third. Sandoval could not reach up to get it, and Gordon has done it to break the tie. So D. Gordon on base for the third time, a single, a double, and a walk. He bounces that thing down high. It goes just down the line. Sandoval on the grass, it couldn't reach up and get it. And so D doubles in a big run. Well, there'll be a pitching change, so we'll be right back. start where he allowed just 2 runs or less. He had 3 of those starts in the 2013 postseason, and exactly allowed 2 runs a start. So he's the king of the deuce. And meanwhile, Gene Maki out of Venezuela, El Tigre, he's an even 6 and a good 230 and ready to pick up. So the Dodgers trying to do what we set up, trying to beat the Giant bullpen. And here's Puig against Machi. It's a strike on 1. Puig today struck out, grounded out, single to left. So he has hit in 10 straight. The base hit was a fly ball that was to the left of Michael Morse. Crawford went out. Morse angled over and the ball dropped for the hit. And Puig pulls it down the left field line in the corner. It's going to bounce fair into the stands. So Puig gets the ground rule double. And we will see about Gordon. And I think Gordon will be allowed to score from second base on the double. So it is 4-2 Dodgers as Puig drives in Gordon. Second hit, run batted in for Yasiel. And for Gordon, he gets a hero's welcome. So the Dodgers have done it. They have gone head-to-head with the highly touted Giant bullpen. The ball just fair. It hit the chalk and then kicked up into the stands. So Puig at second base, 4-2 in favor of the Dodgers. And here's Hanley Ramirez, hit by a pitch, struck out and walked. And a strike. They are in on top of Ramirez just about every pitch. They do not want to go away from him. Machi, 31 years old, came up with the Phillies. High fastball at 92. Signed by the Phillies, but he never came up with them. He finally arrived. It took him almost 11 years in the minor leagues. And he finally got him to the Giants in 2012. A persistent young man who has fought his way to the top. 1 ball, 1 strike. Down and away. Ramirez hasn't seen very many pitches away and down. 2 balls, 1 strike. Hanley hit by a pitch, struck out and walked. 0 for 1. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. Two balls, 1 strike. And ball 3. Machi basically fastball, curve, changeup. His fastball in the middle 90s. Three and 1. And ball 4. So Ramirez has been hit by a pitch, walked twice. Dave Righetti going out. I thought of something that Mickey Mantle said one year after that walk. Mantle said, you know, I played all those years, 18 years in the big leagues. I struck out 1,800 times. And I was walked 1,700 times. That's 3,500. And if I figure 500 at bats, per year. That means I played 7 years in the big leagues and never hit the ball. I just thought of that with Ramirez. Hit by a pitch, walked twice, long day, and he's 0 for 1. 2 on, 2 out. Dodgers lead 4-2. D. Gordon leading the way with a brilliant day. And now we'll see about Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez struck out, singled, grounded into a double play with the bases loaded and nobody out back in the 6th inning. Now he has 2 on and 2 out. Ball 1. The Dodgers, if you remember, with runners in scoring position, reached a stage today for the series where they were 0 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Since the bottom of the depths, they are now 4 for the last 6. Puig and Ramirez out there. Fastball hit to center. Angel Pagan going way back and makes the catch. Boy, what a big league play that was. He had to turn his back to the infield and really get on his horse. So the Dodgers, thoroughly tied up, scored 2 runs in the 6th to get even. And thanks to D. Gordon, he chops one for a double to get 1 in. And then Puig comes up and he promptly hits the chalk and bounces that in the stands to get the other run in. And the Dodgers lead 4-2. Your Southern California Mazda dealers. It's a scramble now here at Dodger Stadium as the Dodgers trailing 2-0 most of the game. Get 2 in the 6th to tie, 2 to take the lead in the 7th, and now take the field with Justin Turner taking over at third base for Sean Figgins, and Brian Wilson, the former heralded Giant reliever, now in the blue, ready to go against his old club. And it'll be Pablo Sandoval who greets him with a first pitch base hit to center. So Sandoval comes up with his first hit of the day, and Brandon Crawford, a first ball hitter, will be coming up. Crawford has singled to left, scored a run, twice flied to left, so he went the other way 3 times against Zach Greinke. Greinke went 7, allowed 2, could pick up a win. He worked hard enough to get it, 112 pitches, but it's up to Wilson. Watch the first pitch. If it's around the plate, Crawford's usually at it. It is the upside corner Just a letter high on the outside part. 0-1 the count. And that's away. Pablo Sandoval at first, doesn't do much running. One ball, one strike. 1-2. Sandoval being held on. The last time he had a stolen base was back in 2012. One and two. Crawford followed by Hicks. Two and two. Brian, who has had two Tommy John surgeries, the first one when he was at school at LSU. Giants signed him out of LSU way back in 2003. 2-2. Got him. Outside corner, and down goes Crawford. Greinke, while he was in there, struck out 8. And now Wilson gets one. That brings up Brandon Hicks, who walked, scored a run, hit into a force play, and struck out. Tyler Colvin, who was just brought up by the Giants, comes out on deck. And ball one. George Contos, a reliever, was sent down. They brought up Colvin, and here he is on deck, ready to pinch hit. Tyler's from Augusta, Georgia. Fastball. 1-1. The paid attendance today, 47,199. 47,199. Had 49 last night, 43 the game before. Line drive, base hit. Sandoval to second. Crawford gets the ball back in. So Wilson gives up 2 hits. The tying runs are aboard. And here comes Colvin. Take another look at Hicks. Got a pitch right out over the plate and bangs it into left field. Tyler Colvin, who was originally a first-round pick by the Chicago Cubs out of Clemson University, came up with the Cubs very briefly in 2009, played a good year in 2010 and hit .254. Went back to Iowa, so he's been up and down with the Cubs. Also spent a little bit of time in Colorado, and now here he is with the Giants. Fouled away, 0-1. So a big appearance for Colvin with a new ball club. 2 on, 1 out. And that's fouled away, 0-2. Colvin is one of those fellas. His mother recounts the fact that he told her when he was about in the 5th grade, I'm going to play Major League Baseball someday. Here he is. No balls and 2 strikes. On deck, Angel Pagan. Boy, Wilson just let that thing fly at 95. Rick Honeycutt talking to the skipper about Wilson, I'm sure. 2-2. So in the inning, Sandoval singled. Crawford called out on strikes. Hicks singled. So the Giants with the tying runs aboard. Dodgers lead 4-2. Top of the 8th. Sandoval, the front runner, does not run that well. He's at second base. Got him. So Colvin off the bench and strikes out. Wilson has struck out 2. Now he'll get Pagan.
Center fielder, number 16, Angel Pagan.
Pagan made a wonderful play on the ball hit by Adrian Gonzalez. Every now and then you see a center fielder especially show you the tremendous grace and talent that they have. He was playing reasonably shallow against Gonzalez, and the ball was really hit. And you can't run back looking at the ball. That was way over his head. And he just turned his back, took off, turned back around. There was the ball, and he made the catch. It was a wonderful play. 1 ball, no strikes. Here's the beauty of a major league center fielder. We have a moment, maybe not beautiful to Gonzalez who hit it, but there's Pagan looking, back turn, turns the other way, and there it is. Beautiful play, and especially with runners on base. There were 2 on. 2 balls and no strikes. Wow. Well, now you're asking for trouble with Hunter Pence on deck. Wilson, when he misses, is missing by a lot. 3-0, and Hunter waits. Well, it's the Giants and the Dodgers, right? 3-0. And ball 4. So Brian Wilson has walked the bases. And now Hunter Pence. Well, we'll take a look about the past, if we can learn anything about the present. Hunter Pence just 0 for 3 in the past against Brian Wilson. But you have Sandoval at third, Hicks at second representing the tying run, and Pagan at first. 2 out. Honeycutt's going to go out, break the mood, talk to Wilson. Butera also out there. The great old advice, get it over with something on it. And the answer is, that's my problem. I've got something on it and I can't get it over. Chris Perez gets up in the Dodger bullpen. When the Dodgers bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, Kemp, Crawford, and then Wilson spot. So the Giants had the bases loaded in the first inning and failed to score. The Dodgers had the bases loaded in the 6th, got 1 run on a double play. And now the Giants have the bases loaded for the second time today with 2 out. And here's Pence. And a strike. 0-1. Hunter Pence, pop fly double to right, sacrifice fly, grounded to short, hit back to the box. When it's all said and done, he is 1 for 3 with a run batted in. And Wilson now gets out in front. No balls, 2 strikes. On deck, Buster Posey. 47,199, and they have really warmed up since the 6th inning. One and two. That close, no cigar. One ball, two strikes. High pop foul. Butera coming back. Waiting. One-hander. No runs, 2 hits and a walk, 3 left. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th. 4-2 Dodgers. Inning 4-2 Dodgers, and a reminder Tuesday at 7:10 Dodgers and Marlins, and the first 50,000 fans at the game receive a Yasiel Puig bobblehead, compliments of Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Yasiel Puig had that key double in the 7th inning. Also a single before that. Always around his favorite ball player, and that would be Juan Uribe, and they're forever nudging, hitting each other. If Hyun-Jin Ryu is not nearby, they're all over each other. Meanwhile, the Giants bring in J.C. Gutierrez. His first name is Juan. He's a big fella, 6'3", about 250 pounds, from Venezuela. Started his career and came up to the big leagues with Houston. Then he had 3 years with Arizona, then went over to Kansas City, spent a little bit of time with the Angels, and here he is with the Giants. The Gutierrez will be pitching to Matt Kemp, Carl Crawford, and then a hitter for Brian Wilson. Matt Kemp flied to right, hit into a double play, and then had a key single to drive in a run in the 6th inning. The single tied up the game. Lifting one to deep right. Pence going back to the track, to the scoreboard. Gone. Wrong field home run by Matt Kemp. So Matt Kemp strong enough to clear the right field scoreboard, and the Dodgers take a somewhat comfortable 5-2 lead. For Matt Kemp, his 5th home run, hit it hard and deep. No wind blowing. That had to get there all by itself. Pence trying to climb the board. not close. So Gutierrez rudely treated. Now Crawford, who has flied to left, fly to center, grounded to short. So as Kemp is welcomed back to the dugout, Matt in his career has now had 162 home runs. Long way, of course, from Eric Karros, who, by the way, is here today. Karros will be in the old timers game that follows this game. So Matt comes up with his second hit and his second run batted in. 1 ball and 1 strike to Carl Crawford, and he hits one to left field for a base hit. So Crawford goes 1 for 4, and Gutierrez 2 batters, 2 hits, a run, and now Andre Ethier will come up and bat in Brian Wilson's spot. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen getting ready. He'll be facing Posey, Morse, and Sanchez at least. If anybody gets on, Sandoval. So here's Ethier. Andre hitting .248. There goes the runner. High throw, and he's in there safely. So Crawford gets a jump and makes the steal. He's now stolen 5 out of 7. At the start of the series the other night, we talked about a giant weakness, the fact that the opposition has been running wild against them, and the Dodgers have done just that. In fact, today, 4 stolen bases. 3 by D. Gordon. Now this one by Carl Crawford. 1 ball, 1 strike to Andre Ethier in the rather unfamiliar role of being a pinch hitter. He is 1 for 3 as a pinch hitter. Dodgers coming from behind, trail 2-0, tied at 2-2. Took a 4-2 lead, now lead 5-2, and trying to get Crawford home to get a half a dozen. 1-1. Pulled back of first, up with it. There's Posey, hangs it to Gutierrez. Crawford takes third, and the batter will be Drew Butera, the catcher.
Catcher number 31, Drew Butera.
Drew flied to right, struck out, doubled to right center field, and scored in the 7th inning. His score gave the Dodgers a 3-2 lead, and they've now opened it up a little bit. Infield plays up with a runner at third, 1 out, and Butera looking to Lorenzo Bundy before getting in. One out. Crawford at third. 1 ball and no strikes. Gutierrez in his 15th game. And with a runner at third, we look. He does not have a wild pitch. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 8 hits. The Giants, by the way, have left 12 men on base through 8 innings. And a strike. In fact, it has been such a day for the Giants. They have only been retired in order once. That was the bottom 3 in the lineup in the 6th inning. They've had men everywhere, much to the consternation and frustration of Bruce Bochy. 1-1. 1-2. 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Butera was properly jammed on that. In the Dodger bullpen, Chris Perez has joined Kenley Jansen. You get the feeling that maybe with a 3-run lead, if the Dodgers also get Crawford home with a 4-run lead, they bring in Perez. So the score going to the 9th might decide who's coming out of the Dodger bullpen. 1-2. And a pop fly to center. That's about what it is. Here comes Pagan charging, throwing, not nearly in time. So the Dodgers now lead 6-2, and that might mean not Jansen, that it would definitely be Chris Perez. We'll see. So Butera does his job, gets a scoring fly ball. Pagan tried to catch and do what you all do in the outfield. Catch it on the move and get the throw, but it was not a good throw anyway. So 6-2 in favor of the Dodgers. And here's Turner batting 9th, staying in the lineup. The Gutierrez came in, has given up a single, home run, stolen base, and then the fly ball for the run. Turner grounded out as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning. Ball 1. So the score has determined who's getting ready as Andre Ethier talks to Drew Butera. It'll be Chris Perez now that there's a 4-run lead. 2-0. Matt Kemp opening up the inning with a home run to right field. Dodgers add yet another and lead somewhat comfortably 6-2, bottom of the 8th. 2 balls, no strikes. And that's popped up. It will be the third baseman, Sandoval. And that'll be the inning. So Matt Kemp ignited a little fire in the 8th inning with the home run. After that came Crawford's single, a stolen base, and eventually a sacrifice fly for the extra run. And the Dodgers now lead 6-2. And MLB TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Dodgers.com for details. Well, the details on this one: Dodgers 6 runs, 9 hits. Giants 2 runs, 8 hits. And they give the ball, since they have a 4-run lead, to Chris Perez, figuring to save Kenley Jansen. For the Dodgers, if they win today, that would wind up on somewhat of an optimistic note. First of all, they picked up a few hits and runs. And secondly, after losing the first 2, if they get by today, then they look at Clayton Kershaw tomorrow against Tim Hudson and try to get a split. Buster Posey, a big day. 3 singles and a walk as Kershaw looks on. And Buster lifts one foul. Gonzalez down the line looking for help. Puig, and he makes a remarkable catch. He is a remarkable player. Holy mackerel. There was Gonzalez, there was Gordon, and out of nowhere comes Puig. Out of the gathering comes the wild horse. There's Gonzalez. Look out, fellas. Here he comes. Wow. What a wonderful play. He never saw a wall he wouldn't try to knock down, but that time he put on the brakes and dug in. I mean, there's no room down there. And a wonderful play at a wonderful time, 9th inning. So they get Posey as he fouls out. Yeah, you sure know he's there, don't you? They could have 30 players out there. There was an old song called Running Wild. If you could ever find a Spanish of that, that would be perfect for Puig. Running Wild. And today has a single and a double as well. 2 for 4. And made an incredible throw in the 2nd inning. Everything he does catches the eye. There are the Madison Bumgarners who might not agree with that, but 1 and 2. And for Michael Morse, down he goes. Tough day for Michael. He strikes out 3 times. So Perez gets 2 quick outs. Michael going right under it with that slightly uppercut swing. And Hector Sanchez has had a long day. You have to admire him. Took a couple of big shots to the head, foul balls. He is 0 for 3 with a walk, struck out twice. Ground ball to Gonzalez. That should do it. For the Dodgers, 6 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error. For the Giants, 2 runs, 8 hits, and no errors. And the player of the game would certainly have to be D. Gordon. Gordon put on it after a base hit in the 1st inning. He stole 2nd. Then a little while later, whoops, he stole 3rd. Later on in the 6th inning, he walked and stole a base. Came around to score, and for good measure in the 7th inning, slapped a double over the head of Pablo Sandoval. A tremendous day for D. Gordon. So the Dodgers win 6-2 tomorrow. It'll be Tim Hudson and Clayton Kershaw. The Giants and the Dodgers. Need we say anything more? We'll see you tomorrow. Good afternoon, everybody.